Impact of the Second Sino-Japanese War on banks following the Japanese invasion in the January 1932. The banks were so closely linked to the Chinese nationalist government that the arrival of the Japanese incite a financial panic, and many people rushed to the government bond market to sell their bonds. Only as 5 days after the initial Japanese invasion, the price of the Chinese government bonds had dropped to become less than 60% their face values. This meant that the private banks, which held a large amount of government bonds, would see their value drop significantly as well. During the Second Sino-Japanese War, many people started to fear that the banknotes issued by some banks would become irremediable in the short amount of time. This caused a major panic to separate, and banks runs severely affected some Chinese banks in the process. At least two private Chinese banks had failed due to this crisis. The Second Sino-Japanese War lasted for 8 years, from July 1937 to September 1945. The Imperial Japanese Army occupied more than a third of all of China. This includes virtually all of the leading Chinese port cities and industrial centers that were vital for the Chinese economy. Over 10 million Chinese civilians had lost their lives during the conflict. During World War II, and the Chinese nationalist government resorted to the printing out of a large amount of money to finance the majority of its spending, covering 65% to 80% of its annual expenditure throughout the creation of more money. When the Second Sino-Japanese War broke out in 1937, this total quantity of Chinese yuan is in circulation. This failure was 3.6 billion yuan by December of the year of 1941, when the entry of the United States to the World War II. United States entered the war. The total supply of the Chinese yuan in circulation had increased to 22.8 billion yuan for the remainder of the Second Sino-Japanese War. The number of the war 1942 50.8 billion yuan, 1943 800.2 billion yuan, and 1944 275 billion yuan, and 1945 1506.6 billion yuan. The end of the Second Sino-Japanese War only reopened the long-standing civil war between the Chinese nationalist government and the large communist force in China. These circumstances all proved that to this disastrous for China banking sector and the overall economy. The Civil War brought a worse inflation. During the Chinese Civil War, the Chinese nationalist government financed its expenditure through a monetary expansion of the 50% and 65% annually. Both during and after the war, the Chinese nationalist government had imposed an unworkable price and wage control that would only succeed in creating even more distortion and imbalance throughout the Chinese economy. At the time, several affecting the Chinese financing sector. Confronting with the imminent war with Japan, the Chinese government took control over 70% of the assets of the modern Chinese banks through the notorious bank corps. The bank corps, in response to the dire financial situation of the Chinese nationalist government, the biggest private owned bank in China, the Bank of China, tried to loosen their ties with the Kuomintang government. The Bank of China soon would try to liquidate all of their holdings that were dominated in Chinese government bonds, even at a short-term losses. Generally speaking, smaller private banks would follow the Banks of China in this decision. So this move had become a worrying development for the Kuomintang, and it had become very likely that a large-scale liquidation of China's government bonds for private banks would occur unless the government would act soon. If this would occur, the Chinese nationalist government would no longer be able to rely on the deficit financing for their income, and the government was forced to act as a dispersion. At this separation, the new Minister of the Finance, H. Kong, decided to consult the Chiang Kai-shek to devise a scheme that would attempt to take the resources of the biggest private banks in China's and biggest private bank in China and make them underwrite the Kuomintang government, but rather than the making of the Chinese government bonds more attractive for the banker and investor. Minister Kong wanted to nationalize the two biggest private operated Chinese banks, the Bank of China and the Bank of Communication. The Chinese nationalist government incited and a propaganda campaign designed to place the private bankers in the negative light. The campaign placed the blame of all of the China's economic problem on greedy bankers. H. Kung had asserted that businesses' failure, which were caused by the monetary deflation tied to the international price of the silver, were in reality a result of the private banks of the China placing their own gains and profit above the public interest of the Chinese public people. The campaign had worked to elicit hatred toward the private bankers. Angry Chinese civilians would voice their opposition to the private banks, and it becomes common for the Chinese newspaper to run editorial that they support Kong charge against the bankers. The shift in the public opinion and the defamation of the campaign by the Kong and the convinced that the banks to create a fund which was designed to make the emergency loan to businesses that were having trouble due to the widespread deflation. Unbeknownst to the banks and H. Kong was not designed for the financial well-being of the private businesses owner, but for the finances of the Chinese government. The main reason of the large propaganda push was to get the Chinese people to support the nationalization of the two largest Chinese banks. On 23 March 1935, the Kuomintang officially unveiled their plan, and Kong stated that the Chinese government would nationalize the banks of China and the Bank of Communication. The takeover was veiled as being legal by arbitrarily creating enough shares in each of the two banks for the China's nationalist government to become the majority stockholder in both of them. Money from the emergency fund set up the banks was being used to buy shares for the Chinese government. The rest of the government takeover was financed with the normally equivalent value of the Chinese government bonds. Kong then started to remove the old bank directors and had to them replaced with the government's appointed people who would be more beneficial for the Chinese nationalist government. In June of the year 1935, the Chinese nationalist government used the assets of the Bank of China and the Bank of Communication to take control over a number of the smaller private-owned Chinese banks. Kong then instigated a plan where the Central Bank of China, the Bank of China, and the Bank of Communication would start hoarding banknotes that were issued by smaller private-owned Chinese banks, and then present these banknotes were redemption at their offices, all at the same time knowing that the smaller banks would be unable to reimburse the government banks, and Kong could be declare all these banks to be insolvent and swiftly nationalize them. Kong insists to China's public that the nationalist government would manage these banks in the public interest, like with the Bank of China and the Bank of Communication. The directors of the smaller banks were removed and replaced with the people appointed by the Chinese nationalist government in order to keep these banks in check.